Hello, everyone, and welcome to TFYLP, Transformers for Your Listening Pleasure, episode number 303, recorded Saturday, October 6th, 2018. I'm your host, Deron Land, a.k.a. Weird Wolf. Along with me this evening is Headmaster Don.
Hey, buddy.
Lucas Bockelman. Got your mic on mute.
How's it going?
And Peter Chavez.
Forever Destron.
Hope everybody's having a great week. I know it's been a long one for me. It's one of those weeks that just seems to just drag on. But
this is a week that never ends.
But you know, as I was telling the guys before we went on the air, I got approved this week from a vacation time for TFCon USA. So unless something disastrous happens, I will be there, and I'm going to try and bring my laptop and this microphone here, so we can maybe, if we can't go live, we can maybe at least record a all-in-one room session or something other.
Well, I'll be staying in your room with you, so we should be able to coordinate something.
Sweet.
Oh yeah, I'm with you and Orson and Will. Yeah.
Oh, you are? Okay. I'm not going to be able to go this year because just with everything going on, and I've got cataract surgery next month. Have to have that taken care of because things are looking a little weird when I see lights. I see 4 lights. There are 4
lights!
Unfortunately, they're on car headlights, and there's
no.
not 4. So I need to get that taken care of. But I'm hoping y'all guys have a lot of fun because I would love to be there for the third-party reveals and everything. But I'm sure there'll be a lot of news coming out anyway.
I probably won't have much money to spend on toys there, although I'm probably going to go through my con exclusives and some of my movie stuff and kind of clear it out probably in the next couple weeks to maybe pad up my my spending money. There's a couple things I have my eye on for the show, even though at this point I don't think there's been any third-party exclusives mentioned for the show. Has there been?
Not for Chicago, no, not yet. Not that I've seen.
The Machine Wars repaint of the Mastermind Thunder Clash, that wasn't available mostly at TFCon Canada. So I'm guessing it's going to probably be there at this point because I heard that it wasn't fully available, only limited quantities at that point.
Yeah. So I mean I saw the pre-release thing or the pictures of that for TFCon Canada. That wasn't one of the things. I know I'm going to be in the market for a Hellion because I really like the way that cliff jumper looks. And I'll probably, spoiler alert for my Ouch My Wallet, but I'll probably want to look for the other 2 of these bots if Orson can't track them down for me. Outside of that, there was one other thing. I think there's one of the dealers there I follow on Facebook. They said that they're going to have a Triptychon Junior mint in box there, and I'm like, bring it. Bring it. The Kabaya. No, the juniors.
No, TF Junior.
Yeah. Okay, all right.
See, I've got
I thought Kabaya did the juniors. I was getting them mixed up.
I've got the Chrome Dome, Fort Max, and Optimus juniors, and I thought those were pretty neat.
Do you remember those were everywhere and they were so cheap, like $20 a set? Because they apparently found a warehouse find of them. Mm-hmm. They were just like people everywhere.
I didn't know what they were up until about 5 or 10 years ago.
Yeah, they were like $20 to $30 a piece at every box on table because everybody had them.
Yeah. That was like at 04, 05 ish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I gave $100 for the set that I have, but the stickers are unapplied. Everything's intact. It's like minty fresh. So
they're worth $100. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, loose I'd give less, but this was mint in box, and Chuck Lou, I trust him, so that's who I got it from.
Yeah, and maybe you'll be able to find those other 2 Dino cassettes you need.
Maybe.
That's a straight face. I'm sorry.
No, I've got the I'm getting the SDCC or the Entertainment Earth alternate set to get the alternate colors. So
Yeah,
I'll
no,
have
I mean,
both.
The other two. I mean, so that way you find the other two.
Well, rumor has it that might happen next year. So
Yeah. I remember. I would save that for our. I'll save that for our main meat of this thing. It's a story that I just thought of.
Awesome. Yeah. As Don alluded to, tonight's episode, we're going to have a little bit different take on story time. And I use the term story time as kind of a loose term. I don't know what better to call it. But as fans and collectors, growing up in the fandom and even as adult fans, we've all got our stories. We've all had our experiences. Maybe you had that a couple awkward experiences in a store and, talking to another adult collector or, that cool Transformer you got way back when, and you want to share the story. Maybe there's a funny twist to it, a sad twist to it. We're gonna share some of those stories. We're gonna revisit this from time to time. We may do it again in another week or two because I want to get all the members of TFYLP a chance to do this because I think it'll be fun. And one of the things that I always enjoy whenever I'm talking to other collectors, especially whenever you go to cons, and just thinking about TFCon this week coming up made me think, hey, that would be a good topic for this week. One of the things I love is just standing around listening to people BS and tell their stories. Oh man, there's this one time I was selling this lot to this guy and he was being a total ass, asking me, all kinds of stuff. And then somebody else, oh yeah, I've had that happen too, I just love listening to stuff like that. So I figured we'd share some of ours, and maybe you guys that are watching or listening have some of your own. And we'd love to hear from you. Please feel free to tweet us at TFYLP on Twitter. You can post it in the live chat here. Got it going. Or you can post it on our Facebook page or Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/TFYLP. And as always, if you love what we do, go up there to our Patreon at patreon.com/TFYLP. Help us keep the lights on, keep the server stuff going, and get better equipment and make this show better. Because we're here for you. We love you. But we know we're not getting your Bud Light. But before we go into our main topic of discussion tonight, we're going to do Ouch My Wallet this week. Peter, we'll start with you. You got a Ouch My Wallet? What made your wallet say ouch this week?
Yeah, I've got a few things. Real quickly, today I went to Tampa Bay RetroCon and met up with a few of my friends who I have in the local area. Barry Mazzoni from Junior's Toy Box, Eric Smith from The Toy Addict, and my buddy Martin Garza, who I've known. He's been a Tampa local reseller and all that I've known him since 95 or 96. Wow. Good people, good guys to know. So I went to the show and picked up a few things. I got, first off, just a real weird, knockoff. I don't know. It looks like a
slapdash, maybe.
It looks like an oversized Gen 2 GoBot. Oh. Yeah. But F1, yeah. So that was a little cheapy guy. I liked him though. I got the RID party light set.
Ooh. Yeah.
I forgot those even existed.
I looked at, I thought, as much as I love RID, I really don't need one.
Yeah. I figured, why not? I have my RID stuff. There's not a whole lot of weird artifacts for RID, like the weird non-toy stuff. So I figured that would be a nice thing to add. And then the things I was really excited about to get, I've got a nice sealed Presto Magix Magnetics set.
Ooh.
Oh.
It's still in the wrap. It's.
Oh. What was the Walmart price on it? Because I see the little green tag up there.
It's actually a Children's Palace sticker up here for $5.97.
Oh wow.
So, yeah. So I got that, and then I've seen that one before, but I'd never gotten it. I've never seen it.
Remember when Walmart had the little green price tags on everything?
Yeah. I've still got some price tags on my other stuff back in the storage, but I got this. It's another magnetic set, but I've never seen it before. It's just Optimus, and you can pose him and kind of
like a refrigerator magnet thing. You can pose him with his arms.
Yep. arms akimbo and straight down, whatever you want to do. But it's really, really toyetic, nice toy based. The packaging is a little bit wonked out, but it's still sealed. I figured for the price I got it for, it was.
I would be too tempted to have him doing the DX crotch chop or something other.
Don't know what that is. Not going to ask.
Suck it.
But yeah, aside from that, it's been a couple weeks since I've been here, so my birthday came and went. So my girlfriend, she got me Make Toys Contact Shot, Fan Toys Coot, the Counterpunch figure. I got that for myself.
Any issues with it?
No, I had to do the shoulder reversal because it wouldn't close up in car mode. But as soon as I did that, it was a-okay, no issues beyond that. I picked up Fans Toys Grinder. The reissue of that because I missed him the first time around and didn't want to spend $400. The price cranked way up.
I really was hesitant on getting him because I had the Masterpiece Grimlock, and I'm like, I really don't need a Grimlock, but I'm like, hey, he's going to be the same scale. I don't expect him to be better. Oh man, he blows Masterpiece Grimlock out of the water. I mean, makes it look like a rescue bot. Nice.
I had to get I got the G2 version.
If they ever do a tiger stripe color of him,
no, I'm guessing that'll be somewhere down the road, along with if they ever do Swoop and Sludge in their prototype G2 colors.
Yeah, Pumpkin Gonzo did a custom of the MP08 Grimlock. He did a custom in the tiger stripe, and I'm like, I just drooled over it. That thing was gorgeous.
I'm waiting for the Beast Wars Dinobot recolor where he's the Dalmatian in the Dalmatian colors. That'll be the real test to see how many people can want to go, upstream that mold.
Lord, Peter, do you have anything else that you wanted to?
Nope, that was it.
All right. What about you, Lucas?
I got a few little guys this week. So these are the Magic Square Beachcomber.
Ooh.
And Sea Spray. And then I got
Legend size.
From them the Legend size. Yeah, this is their Sideswipe. And this Sideswipe is absolutely amazing. Like this blows almost any recent Transformer that I've had, the amount of articulation, like he has waist swivel, he has ab crunch. He has ankle tilts. It's nuts.
And it's Legend size.
And it's Legends, yeah. It has more articulation than the Masterpiece.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it's just an absolutely amazing figure, and I'm looking forward to everything these guys release.
It's weird you say that because I watched Bobby Skullface's review this morning on that figure while I was on break at work, and he really liked the figure. Other than now, does your leg panels want to slide out a little bit sometimes? Because that's about the only real downside he saw was with the leg panels that form the feet.
The copy that I have doesn't have that issue. Okay. So I watched the same review, and I didn't have that with mine. So the only thing I'd say about these Magic Square guys, and I can't remember if Bobby mentioned it or not, is the plastic feels a little bit soft on all the Magic Square guys. But there's no real issue with it. It's just a little bit different.
Yeah, he actually in this weekend sit down Saturday, he went back and added that because it was brought up to him. So he says, yeah, it's a softer plastic, but if you've dealt with a lot of third-party stuff, you've run into this plastic before, so it's really not
right. It's one of those things because a lot of people don't realize third-party toys are not manufactured typically in toy factories. They're usually run a couple days or maybe a few days a week or a few days a month rather at factories at whatever factory. Any factory overseas will produce something if you pay them enough, I'm sure. And if you got a working relationship with a factory, let's say some of these third-party guys, let's say one guy might design kitchen utensils or control knobs for something, and he has a working relationship with a factory that makes kitchen utensils, and the plastic they use is that hard ABS plastic, kind of like what you would see also on I'm guessing maybe Fans Project toys. You know, it's got that harder texturized. Well, maybe the earlier Fans Project stuff kind of had that texturized feel to it. That's because they're made in the factory that would make like control knobs and like plastic spatulas and everything. You know, and a different factory may make you know, whatever else, and it's a different kind of ABS.
Whatever widget.
Yeah, it's not that it's bad plastic; it's just the different kinds that they use that they have on hand.
Right.
I didn't mean to interject in that.
Oh no, yeah. So I mean, this guy's great. I would suggest if you haven't checked out any Magic Square guys, that definitely check them out. I've been getting a lot into the Legends lately, and I mean these are the cream of the crop in my opinion.
Legends size figures, I love getting them just so I can have something that would scale well with my city bots. Metroplex, Decepticon, Fort Max. I've got a few of the little unique toys headmasters that are legend size. Those things are great. And they look great next to city bots. My only complaint is that for a pack of 2, like the Unique Toys Headmaster, I got Chrome Dome and Weird Wolf, and then I got a Skull Cruncher and Hardhead, I believe, and they were like $45 for a 2-pack. I'm like, 2 Legends, $45, averaging about $22.50 a piece. That's a bit steep. For Legends figures, which is why I don't dip on them that much. Do you mind sharing how much those were that you got from Magic Square?
Yeah, so this 2-pack is $40, and then this guy by himself I think was like 30, a little under 30. So I mean you are right about that, and I know the Legends have even went up a little bit in price over the last couple of years. Like the Iron Factory figures now are $30 or $40. A lot of these are too, but I mean, you can tell like the parts count is a lot higher, the articulation is a lot higher, and so I mean, I'm willing to go ahead and spend the money on it, just because you can tell that they're high quality, even though they're small.
Yeah.
So I feel like a lot of times, we equate so much with the size of the figure to the price of the figure, to where it's like. To me, I feel like it's like if it's a high quality figure, I don't care if it's, 4 inches or if it's, 20 inches. So.
Well, you nailed it right there with saying parts count. I mean, the price of the figure is dependent on how intricate and complicated the toy itself is. So the price is in that case, I think.
And if it's generally a good quality toy, like you say, those are. I've got a couple of the Iron Factory things. I know we got the Iron Factory Lord Scorpion, the Black Zarek. That thing is like phenomenal. The paint, the articulation, the build quality is phenomenal. I want to say it was like a $60 or $70 normally toy. Yeah. I got it on sale for like $50, but still, it's legend. It's deluxe size, but it's legend scale because it's a city bot. But that's still a lot of money for that scale of figure. But it's worth it. It's really worth it. If you're willing to take a dip on a few of those things, I wouldn't on a lot. I if it was like a character that I'm really into, like the Weird Wolf and the school and everything, I dipped on those. I really want to go after the Headmaster Horror Cons. I know they've released those recently, but it's still not high enough on my list. It's like, I don't know, $45 right now. I could use that on something else.
Yeah. I had that Scorpion figure, but I got lucky because Pial was selling his Devil Stinger that he from Make Toys. I got it for $200 for Devil Stinger. So it's like Devil Stinger or Scorpion. Guess which one went to eBay? So yeah, but I really like a lot of that Magic Square stuff. It's just I'm trying not to fall down that Legends rabbit hole and just cherry pick the ones I want. I am getting it's the Papa Toys Hot Rod. I know there's some he said she said on that, but it looks really good. So I've got that hopefully coming soon. Yeah. Yes, I know. I love you too.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like prices are going up across the board. I
They
mean,
are.
that's with everything, you know. I mean, and that's the thing is I actually just got out of Masterpiece completely,
Oh, really?
and the reason is because it's like the new Optimus Prime. I mean, they haven't announced the price, but I mean, I'm sure that it's going to be pretty expensive, and I know they're just going to keep redoing the same figures. And it's like I don't want to pay, you know, how the car butts now are $100, 120. You know, Optimus is probably going to be, you know, well over 200. So I mean that's the thing is like, well, I guess I'll splurge a little bit on Legends for 30, 40 bucks versus, you know, buying a bunch of Masterpiece. So
That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I totally get that too. But you know, it's all depends on it. All depend. I'll get it out here in a moment. It all depends on what your fancy is. You know, my thing, I absolutely can't get enough of the Masterpiece aesthetic. They are huge. They take up a lot of room. They tend to be very very pricey, but I eat that stuff up. If I had to sit here and pick, you know, keep all your Masterpiece and third party Masterpiece style, or sell all of that and keep all my like Titan Returns and Generations stuff, you know, all my Prime Wars trilogy stuff. I would sell my Prime Wars trilogy stuff before I would sell my Masterpiece. I mean, it's that important to me.
Yeah,
That's me. I mean, I totally
you know,
get your reasoning though.
yeah, and that's kind of where I was at too. Was I asked myself, you know, with the Siege line coming up and everything, we already have a lot of stuff. I kind of feel like I need to decide, am I going to do Masterpiece? Am I going to do mainline? And I said, you know what? I like the mainline better. So, I mean, that's me. And, you know, I know there's plenty of people in the fandom that love Masterpiece, but, you know, I kind of just like the mainline better.
And if you really think about it too, uh, the current mainline and the impending mainline figures, they're taking a lot of stuff that they've learned in Masterpiece and applying it in the mainline stuff. I saw some things in Power of the Primes that you know, aesthetic and what they've done with it that you only at one time saw only in Masterpiece. You know, Generation stuff would tend to not have like wrist swivels. They're not doing that as much, but you know, like ankle tilts and things like that. You're starting to see that more and more in mainline stuff. So,
yeah.
I totally get that. It's not like you're missing out all that much anymore.
Yeah, it's, you know, I've got Megatron on pre-order through Amazon Japan because that was the best, you know, that was the best price because I have Primal and I've got Cheetor. I'm not getting Dinobot. As much as I love Beast Wars, you know, it's just Dinobot is too much, and that Prime is just, there's no telling what that Prime's going to cost. There is no telling what that Optimus Prime is going to cost, and it's just, you know, I can Dononomics the hell out of a lot of stuff, but it takes a lot of work sometimes. You know, just where you feel like I've got a good enough value that it can be in my collection, and I don't feel bad about buying it.
Yeah.
You know, but after a while, it's like, do I have to do this for every figure because it's all going to be $150 plus prices now at this point?
Yeah. And it always comes down to trying to justify it with price. It always does. To me, I would dare say price is actually paramount over quality sometimes. You know, if I can get a good figure for a cheaper price or get a more quality figure for a higher price, sometimes I'll go the cheaper price. You know, and I use like some of the recent releases, like the X Transbots. Those guys are cheaper. You know, and yet there's more expensive, more accurate renditions of those characters out. Same with Combaticons. I went with the Zeta Combaticons. I'm not going to complain about $50 to $60 for a limb. I mean, it's sure they're more toy accurate over animation accurate, but the price just wins me over. I'm tired of spending $600 on on a combiner. You know, I'm just tired of that. You know, so
I brought this up several months ago, Duran. Toy World Leia in car mode is a joke.
She is a
It is an
mess.
absolute god awful mess. But in robot mode, if all you want, if RC is not important to you as it is to other people, and you just want her on the shelf as a representation on your movie shelf, your rebirth shelf, whatever the case may be, in robot mode she's fine and she's $70 versus 80, 90 to 100 for the fans
toys.
Fans Toys.
Rouge.
So, thank you. I blanked on the name. So, I mean, if you want just a robot mode RC to stand beside your favorite one of the 8 Springers, then, there you go. But if you want a decent
that's another
RC,
one too. I went with the open and play Big Spring. 50,
Big
60,
Spring's pretty nice.
Yeah, $50-$60, masterpiece scale, great quality figure, has the look. Face is a bit off, but aside from that, he is a phenomenal figure.
I went with Alan, the first one that came out, because I got it for about $90. It is a dead solid figure. I mean, there's been, it may not have aged as well as some of the other Springers, but on my shelf, it looks like Springer. It looks like put him beside Ultra Magnus, he's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any major problem with that.
Yeah. So Don, what's your ouch my wallet this week?
I got a few things here. Thanks to Barricade 64 on Twitter, he gave me the heads up on an eBay coupon code. So that plus some Dynanomics, picked up a few things, and I got some more stuff in or out. Went back and got Leo Prime. Hell of a version of that mold. I've been wanting it forever. After everything was done, I got like $45 shipped. I love the way he looks. I figured I'll never get it that cheap anytime soon. So I got Leo Prime.
It's a beautiful figure.
It is. Thanks to the link we got on RFC, the Amazon, I picked up Bumblebee and Shadow Raider off of Amazon. He's ready for the Beast Planet. So, for those of you that catch that,
Get it? Yeah.
pick this up at my local Walmart. Starscream.
Oh,
See,
nice.
yeah, I'm not familiar with that character or that packaging. It's so new.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that Energon?
I am going to come through this screen. I'm going to send Massey through the screen. No, it looks so good. I've never had a box G1 Starscream. My Starscream is complete, but it was loose secondhand, and it just looks so pretty. I just want to put him on a shelf and walk by him from time to time and say, "Damn, you pretty," and just be happy with it. Besides, they went with the long safety missiles, so it doesn't look quite right with those super long safety missiles. But in the box, he's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And the last thing I got was for some tunes as I'm going down the road. Soundblade.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I went and got, because I skipped the Titan Return one just because I thought, well, I've got Masterpiece Soundwave. I really don't need another Soundwave. But I like the packaging. I like some of what else they've done to it. I just think it's just a really neat redo of the figure. And his headmaster is Doombox. That's pretty awesome right there.
Doombox.
Other than that, nothing real spoilers for anything else. I've got stuff coming later on that I'll share on future episodes.
Sweet.
So
Cool.
Well, my ouch my wallet is actually somewhat small. One of them I don't have handy. It's in the display case back here. But a couple weeks ago, I mentioned that I won a raffle on one of the boards or one of the forums that I'm on, and got a complete G1 stepper, stickers unapplied with the sticker sheet.
Oh, wow.
And to actually own a real life stepper, not a Ricochet, not a reissue, a real deal stepper. I'm just over the moon with this thing.
I had a chance to buy one time. I passed it up because I had just recently got Artfire from Hydra.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured I kind of wanted Artfire more than Stepper. just because the Artfire was so hard to find, and Hydra gave me a really good deal on that Artfire. But I don't have a stepper, and I'm jealous of you, Duran, because I kind of wanted a real stepper, but I was happy with Ricochet, and now that I've got
same here. I have Ricochet too, and
yeah. So that's unless I find a really good deal on an original stepper, I'm just going to use Ricochet because they're so expensive. I might as well say, hey, I want that Lucky Draw Unicron, the original one, not the. I might as well just go ahead and just shoot for something like that if I'm going to go for a.
Well, it's Stepper was one of those characters. It's like, oh, that's so awesome, but for me, there's only so much I'm willing to spend on certain toys. If it's a toy that I really, really, really like, for instance, my Death Source. I really wanted a Death Source. Excuse me, I've got hiccups. I don't know why. I love that toy. Love the design. It's simple yet fun to transform. He's just visually impressive in both modes. I wanted that toy. I was willing to pay some good money for that. Fortunately, I have a really awesome girlfriend. And now I have a G1 Death Source. Overlord is another one. Maybe a Victory Saber. And there's a handful of other toys, but I don't really want to go out and spend hundreds of dollars on rare G1s. And Stepper was one of those. It's like, he's awesome, but I don't see myself ever owning one. And here, this raffle comes up. It was a $17 $17 buy-in on the raffle. I chose one number. I'm like, I'm either going to win it with one number or not at all. So I chose one number. I chose the number I had on my jersey when I played baseball in high school. Number 19. I'm like, all right. I got to work that night. I was working, and then I happened to look at my phone and seeing all kinds of people saying congratulations, Drawn. I'm like, what? Wait, what? Like that, and I scroll down. I'm like, holy shit, I won! I won,
Which is great. See, I'm the same way about Minerva. Minerva is the one.
That's another one I would do. Yeah.
Yeah. That's one that I never picked up because even in 94, 95, she was not common when BotCon first started. And that's when I learned about the Japanese and European continuities. That's when I first learned about that stuff. And even then, she was not that easy to find, and it's gotten only worse since then. But even if I had the money to flat out buy it, no Dononomics, just finally get a Minerva, I couldn't, because that white 80s plastic is going to eventually, even if I stick it in the darkest hole I can find, she's going to photo yellow, and I am going to sit in a corner and cry. And I'm not putting myself through that. That's
well, this stepper, you can tell it's a vintage because the yellow on it, the white on it has yellowed a bit. I mean, it's not like it's not Bumblebee yellow, but it has.
It's not bone white.
It's not bone white. Well, actually, bone is more accurate to the color. It's not bleach white, but. That being said, it's to be expected with a toy that's 30 years old, and it also further proves that, hey, this is actually a vintage toy over, opposed to the reissue, which, my reissue Ricochet / Stepper is still minty bleach white, so it's as white as the glare off the top of my head right now, and...
I can't say anything.
So, but it's got a few minor blemishes on it. But hey, I have a stepper, and I'm just exceedingly proud, and so over the moon. I've never been so happy to receive a figure like that, and I'm gonna go in on those raffles from time to time. You may win. There's only 25 spots. It's a 1 in 25 chance. Unless you buy up to 4 spots, which, to me, once you go beyond 4, maybe two buy-ins, it's like, you're kind of spending a little more money and making it a little less worth it, but to each their own.
But you get to pick your prize. I mean, there was an art fire with a couple of repro parts in that same
I
raffle.
almost got that. Yeah.
Yep. And I mean, there were what, 6 prizes in that particular
There were
raffle?
6 prizes. I want to say 6 prizes. The top 3 for me were number 1 was the stepper. Number 2 was the art fire, even though the art fire had some repro parts. But the body was 100% vintage art fire.
Yep.
And then the Headmaster set of 3, which was Chrome Dome, hard head, and highbrow, minty complete. I'm going back and trying to get all the G1 Headmasters. Since I'm a Headmaster fan, I want to go and get all the G1 Headmasters. And I'm like, let's see here, I could get all the G1 3 main Autobot Headmasters for $17 essentially. That was really tempting. But I'm like, Stepper, man, that's one I told myself years ago. I'm like, man, you'll never own that for that price. Yeah, because he's commanded a pretty penny for many years, even after the reissue.
Even after the reissues, if you find one in box, you're asking $1,500 if it's in great shape.
Yeah. So I'm like, I think I did good on that one. And then
you made the right choice.
Yeah, and then last night I was weak, and I got with my local crack dealer Orson at Captured Prey, and said, hey, I know these have been out for 2 years. A lot of people is like old hat, but I'm just now getting these guys, the Toy World Constructor guys. I got Hook and Bone Crusher out of the set. These things are phenomenal. And I don't know if you can see on the thing here. Well, I don't know if I can get it. But yeah, the treads work. I was like, that's just amazing. And even in robot mode, despite the treads working, look this out. Still fully articulated. Wow. I put him in arm mode. This is Bone Crusher for those of you who are listening. I put the Bone Crusher, which is Bulldozer, I put him in arm mode, and from the tip of my fingers to the end of the arm mode for the Constructor, aka Devastator, was almost as long as my hand and forearm. This thing is gigantic. I have no idea where I'm going to display it whenever it's completed, but it's why I'm going to probably sell off a bunch of stuff here going up to TFCon, just to clear out some room, because the Onslaught from the Zeta Combaticons is due in the next week or two, and he's almost Fans Toys Omega in size. So yeah, I need to clear up some room here, people. Be watching the Facebook group for some sales coming up soon. That don't mean I'll give it away. I don't want to give it away.
You just need to get another DTOF.
Where would I put it? There's nowhere to put it.
Just in the middle of the room, or start hanging them from the ceiling.
Yeah, right?
I'm like, it's like to my immediate right, I have a bed, and then a wall of DTOFs here, and then display cabinet, closet, and then the blank space behind me here is where the door swings, so I can't put a case there. There's nowhere to put it. Nowhere. I want one, but I don't have anywhere to put it. But this has been Ouch My Wallet. Ouch My Wallet provided by, and at least some of my stuff, provided by CapturePrey.com. Great toys, great prices, great service. CapturePrey.com, where you can save even more on your orders with free domestic shipping on orders of $150 or more. Or you can choose the Stasis Pod option and save on shipping. Order now or buy now and ship later whenever more stuff comes in. It's a great option. Try out the Stasis Pod at CapturePrey.com. So without further ado, let's move on into our topic of discussion, our main topic of discussion. We're going to have a subtopic later. I know New York Comic Con. I know a lot of people sitting there saying, well, New York Comic Con is this week. You're not going to mention anything about that. We're going to talk a little bit about it. I'm sure at this point everybody pretty much knows what was revealed at New York Comic Con. So we're not going to necessarily sit here and go over everything that was revealed, but we're going to talk about our thoughts on what was revealed overall and our feelings on where the line is going. But for right now, we're going to be talking about our stories from our lives as fans and collectors, things that has either happened to us, we've witnessed or experienced. This can be, on a personal level, at a convention, things like that. And, I kind of gave a little overview before we went live to the guys here. They kind of know what to expect, but to kind of set the table, I'm going to give a brief story of my own, and then we'll go around the room and maybe go around the room one more time if we have time, and tell some more stories, and then we'll go into the New York Comic Con stuff. But I've been a fan since 1984. Since Transformers first came out, and as an adult, since '99, I got on ATT and lurked a little bit. Never really posted there. I don't think I ever posted at ATT, but I remember scrolling through and reading some of the things. It's difficult for me to associate, hey, these are actual other fans. You're reading people's thoughts. But the first message board I ever joined was Bot Talk over at bigbot.com. And I moved on to Trans Fans, which I found out this past week. I don't know how long it's been gone, but Trans Fans is gone. The website is no longer, and that's sad because that was the very first place I really became an active member in the community on the message boards. I was a mod there for well over a year. I met Insane Galvatron that I founded this podcast with there. It was a great experience. I met some wonderful people through Trans Fans, and then after that I moved on to TFW. But Trans Fans always held a special place in my heart, even after the website got sold by its original owner. And moved and actually became more of a UK-centric website. Matter of fact, it changed from a .com to a .uk once the ownership changed. And I still went back from time to time and found that it was a great place to go to. And I'm sad that it's gone. There were some good times and bad. The way I left there, I had a disagreement with the main admin. He thought one thing should be true, and I thought differently. And I'm like, you know what, this isn't going to work, and I moved on. No ill will, just a disagreement. But I didn't hate anybody there. I still dropped in from time to time, said hi. It was a great place. Even after I started TransformersHomage.com afterwards, I met a lot of people through that, and I was actually running TransformersHomage.com at the same time I was a mod over at TransFans, and met Michael Swift. He started posting. He was, I'm wanting to say, early teenager at the time. He latched on to Transformers Homage and was posting on the boards, and we got to chatting with him a lot, and look where he's at now. He's been a part of this podcast for many, many years, even though he's not active on the cast much. He's still on the forums, and I'm sure he's still kind of behind the scenes. I'll ask him things from time to time and value his input. He's a good friend. I met him through that little interaction, on the Transformers Homage forums. Just kind. I know it's kind of meandering, but these are stories of how I came to be as a podcaster. Transformers Homage eventually became Gen1TF.com. I ran that for several years, and then decided to take things a different direction and went in with a friend of mine with a website called geekexistence.com, and that's where this podcast started. It was actually part of a different website, a general toy podcast, and then we moved on to Transformers after the 10th episode, and here we are 303 episodes later. Never dreamed that would happen. But that's a little story there that I had. I hope you guys kind of get the idea of what we're doing here. Who wants to go next?
I will.
Okay,
I will.
Don.
Because Duran, you know Brad.
Yes,
Yeah, I've known Brad for many years through many BotCons. You know him when he works with.
I do believe he's watching right now too.
He's watching because my first story is about myself and Brad. A couple years ago, there's been very few lucky draws I've ever thought I would ever own. Very few, lucky draws is one of them things where you need very deep pockets or know a guy who knows a guy. But my love for RID, Robots in the first version, RID 1.0, I wanted Robots in Disguise, Blackfire Convoy, Darkfire Convoy. I've wanted it ever since I learned of its existence, because to me, outside of Masterpiece, Fire Convoy is one of the best Optimus Prime molds, period.
It still holds up to this day.
I think it holds up. Well, when it's manufactured properly, it does.
Whatever you do mean, Don.
Yes. But I'm glad I didn't buy the reissue set. But I never thought I would own one. A couple years ago at BotCon, Brad was also wanting one as well, because Brad was collecting a lot of this unique stuff that I just didn't have the ability to get at the time. Seller had a Darkfire Convoy, Blackfire Convoy there, and Brad can correct me, but I believe they wanted $1,300 for it, which I think at the time was one of the cheapest of those I had ever seen. Because usually, whenever they rarely showed up on eBay, they were close to $1,600. I'm doing this from memory, but it was not cheap. And this is one of the cheaper at the time lucky draw figures, because it was produced more than a lot of the figures at that time.
Like a black track, so those are quite common too, from what I understand.
Yeah. So it's basically like saying, I'm going to buy the small aircraft carrier versus the big aircraft carrier. It's a matter of degrees of separation at that point. But he and I were both looking at it, and we were drooling over this thing, and we kept trying to get the other person to buy it. And I was telling him, well, Brad, you've got whatever he had on his table at the time. If you could sell that, I'll help you try to sell that, and then you can get that figure with the money you sell. Because I was trying to get him to buy it, so I wouldn't. And he was trying to get me to buy it, so he
didn't.
Right. So we're both wanting this figure, but neither one of us wants to come off the bills. I had most of the money, and I could have got the rest of it, but it's like I can't make myself pay. I think I talked to the guy, and I think he said the best he would do, cash money, was like $1,100. Or
that's still a good price for a lucky draw.
It's still a good price, but again, it's degrees. It's like, okay, I'll take the small aircraft carrier. I couldn't do it, but he and I, the entire weekend, we would walk by and look at it, and at least I did anyway. Finally, we just sort of both just gave up because we were not getting the other person to drop the money, because I think Brad was a little concerned that his wife would kill him. I may be wrong.
Legitimate.
I'm sure that might have been a concern on the list of things to be concerned about. I was worried about paying rent and car money, so I was looking at that. So the whole weekend, basically, we're kidding back and forth, but we're trying to get the other person to buy the damn thing so we wouldn't buy it. And I want to tell this part of the story. About a year or so later, I had an eBay coupon drop. That was a 10% coupon. One of the first coupons I ever got after signing up on eBay. A person listed a mint in box, Blackfire Convoy, buy it now, of $700. I had just got the coupon for 10% off the day before. So I got my Blackfire Convoy shipped for $630.
Wow.
Less than 2 years later, all that panned out.
So what you're saying is eat that, Brad.
No. I'm just saying I finally got mine. And I know Brad I know he's gotten out of a lot of the collecting now. He's got other stuff he's focusing on. But that weekend was so much fun, just with the back and forth we were doing, trying to get the other person to buy it. And that's a memory I'm going to remember a long time, because it's like, what other fandoms can you do that? I mean, it's just like, no, you buy it. No, you buy it. It was just a fun little thing we were doing, and we were really not trying to spend money.
You know, I've got to credit Brad some too for my Deathsaurus that I have, because at the last BotCon, you know, I was looking for one. There was, I want to say, 3 on the floor. Chuck had 2 of them. Artfire 2000, he had 2 of them, and I want to say he had 2. Maybe he had a junker or something other back there. And then there was another dealer that had one. The one dealer had one sealed in the box, and it was like, I want to say it's right at 1,000 he had on it. And then Chuck had the one I have that was 100% complete, except for the Eagle Breastmaster guns, which I eventually got those, surprisingly. But it didn't have those, but everything else was great, and it had a beat-up box. And he had 800 on that. And then there was another one he had that had like a mintier box, and it was 100% complete. And I want to say it was between 8 and 1,000. And I'm like, there's no way I can do that, even if my girlfriend and I pooled our money. And I have to thank Brad, because I went back and I was lamenting to him, because I'm like, oh, I found one. You know, my girlfriend was down because she was wanting to help me get one. And he's like, you know what? He says, wait right here. And he went and talked to Chuck. And I don't know what he said, what he did. I'm not insinuating he did anything. but he comes back and he says, you might want to go talk to Chuck about that Deathsaurus one more time. I'm like, I tried to dicker with him before, and he was pretty firm on the price. And he was fair in that, too. You know, I'm not saying he was being a dick about it, but he was pretty firm on his price. But he says, you might want to go talk to him about that. So I went up there, and my girlfriend and I went up there, and Chuck's like, you're the one Brad mentioned? And I said, yeah. And he says, I know you wanting this. And he told me a price. My girlfriend and I looked at him, and my girlfriend handed him the cash. I'm like...
And then when Durham regained consciousness,
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's that animated GIF of that guy. Yeah, I was doing that number right there. But I do have to thank Brad for saying something to him. I don't know what he did, what he said, but he came down considerably on it. I'm not saying he came down terribly a lot. It was still a lot of money we paid for it, but you know, he did come down quite a bit. And Chuck's a outstanding guy. I bought my Road Caesar off of him the following year. So
sorry,
I'm not. I love it.
I'm just not a Road Caesar. Tony Prito got me Road Caesar on a trip to Japan, and it's just...
I'll take yours if you don't want it.
No, it's just not what I was expecting. Like when I bought God Bomber based on the toy picture in the catalog, not knowing that wasn't the actual God Bomber.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you got your dressage to run. That's
Yeah. When you mentioned, Brad trying to help you get that toy, I'm like, Brad's a great guy.
Well, he wasn't trying to help me get it. He was trying to get me to buy it. It wasn't helpful at all.
Well, he was spurring you to do something with that toy.
Yeah, go into debt.
And then there's the chocolate cake milkshakes at TFCon in 2015. No, it wasn't TFCon. It was BotCon. The one in St. Charles, where there's a Portillo's next door.
Oh, that the guys bought me for my birthday. They took me there to put it. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
That's where I went for my birthday.
because he was helping us at Orson's booth, and there was myself, Orson, Brad. I want to say Will Kenny. We were all sitting there. We were tired. It was like nearing the end of the first day of the convention, and we were just beat. We were famished, and somebody happened to be walking by, and they had a Portillo's cup, and they were like eating chocolate, looked like chocolate cake out of a cup. Brad saw that, and he's like, Excuse me, what do you have there? And this girl says, it's a chocolate cake milkshake. Like that, and then you heard a collective gasp from all four of us. We're like that, and we're all looking at each other, and we're like, all right, who's going over there? Yeah, that's good times. So
what you're saying is that someone needs to make a Portillo's run this year, right? At TFCon?
yes.
Can probably be arranged.
I would nominate Sergio for that, but he'd probably scrape the bottom of his car going there.
You know he would.
I love giving him crap over that. It's just so fun. Yokozuna sitting on the car, Godzilla stepping on the car. I'm going to keep doing that too. Going to keep doing that. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you have to know Sergio Garcia from the podcast here. He loves the lowrider cars, and he's always posting pictures of the cars with the insanely cambered out tires or wheels that look like they're squashed. And I'm always taking those pictures, Fred Work style, and photoshopping something into them, like making them squash, like Godzilla stepping on them, or the wrestler Yokozuna sitting on top of one, you know. And yeah, that's fun. Peter, you or Lucas want to go next? Either one.
Lucas, you can go ahead.
I was gonna say, I'll do a story here. So one of the things that I love about the Transformers fandom is just, the mix of people and people that are willing to share information, especially the people that have been in the hobby for a long time. So, a few years ago, I'm in one of the Facebook groups, and somebody had posted about the reissues, and I think it was the reissue Fort Max. And they were just asking, they're like, well, is there any difference between the reissue and the original? And like, I posted in there, and I'm like, no, there's
thickness
no
of the
difference.
plastic, but aside from that, no, yeah.
Yeah, but in general, I was like, yeah, all these reissues, like, there's no difference between the reissues and the original, right? And so one of the guys who happens to have a blog, Barisi,
he's been a member of this podcast before, so.
Yeah, so he posted, he's like, well, actually, like, there's this difference and this difference and whatever. And so I started kind of getting this debate with him. And then he's like, no, here. And he, like, posted a link to his, like, blog. And I'm like, oh, shoot, you're the guy that I've been reading your blog, about. Okay, I guess I really don't know what I'm talking about. And I'm kind of, I probably shouldn't be giving misinformation if I don't really know, kind of thing. But he was such a nice guy, and he, like, posted out, like, here's all the differences between, the reissue Fort Max and the new one, so that the guy could make an informed decision. And, and I kind of I was like, all right, I'm going to stop talking now. And then, I went ahead and friended him, and we had a long conversation about Transformers and all that kind of thing. And yeah, he's just an awesome guy. And I know that he's one of the moderators of a really good G1 group on Facebook as well. But yeah, it's one of those things where, I'm sure that we've all kind of been there where we're like, oh yeah, like I know a lot about Transformers. And then you're like, okay, maybe, I don't. And I need to kind of, not necessarily say something if I don't know exactly what I'm talking about.
That we've all done that. It's and there's nothing to feel ashamed about. It's like I don't know how many times I've conveyed information I was sure was 100% accurate, and then went on to found out later. I'm like, oh, yep, well, I was wrong. You know? But hey, it happens. But Brycey is a great guy. I love him to death. I wish he would have the time to come back to the show, but whenever we changed times and everything, he was one of those that had to go. He just wasn't available most of the time. So, plus it's hard to pull him away from Destiny too.
Yeah, try getting John DeLuna away from Street Fighter V. You know, it's about the same thing.
It's like I can log on to PlayStation right now, and I would almost guarantee it's showing him in orbit playing Destiny 2 right now. But hey, it's a great game. I've got it now, so. But yeah.
Can't he play it while he's on the podcast?
It depends if his PlayStation's in the same room we podcast from.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And if he has the bandwidth.
Yeah. Most of us don't have the luxury of like a fiber connection like Orson does, showing his fiber connections.
Hey, I get 1.2 down and 0.3 up. Yeah.
Well, and we can tell, Don.
Oh, you guys don't have Google Fiber?
It's in Louisville now, but I'm about 20 miles outside of Louisville, so
I'm so far.
Knock on wood, it's coming this way.
I'm so far out in the county. Xfinity won't come out here because the local place has like a lock on this area. I can't even get a pizza delivered. I'm so far out. So my nearest grocery store is 8 miles away in any given direction.
Oh, whoa.
So yeah, I'm out in the middle of BFE.
You're not direct TVing it, are you? You're not HughesNetting it, are you?
HughesNet.
Yeah. In my apartment complex, all 4 buildings, we all share the giant C-SPAN or C-band satellite that's stuck outside of the backfield when they're not growing tobacco. We just have to move it every other season. Whatever field he lets go fallow, we just have to pick up that satellite and move it to the other field.
It's in the. You got to move it to the field in which you grow your.
Well, okay, I'll put it like this. I was far out in the county. I was walking Massey a couple years ago. We saw a bear cub out in the backfield. He left me to die. Jumped out of my arms, ran to the apartment door, and left me to die. If Mama had been around, that's how far out in the county I am.
And now the only thing the cub will do is lose in the playoffs.
Hey,
But there you go, Sergio. All right, Peter, what about you?
Okay, I've got a toy story and 3 miserable acts.
Oh.
So I've been involved with Transformers since '84, since I was a really little guy. Never got out of it, even during the, between Gen 1 and Gen 2. That's when I first found yard sales and flea markets and started digging around as a kid.
You were one of those that were able to juggle titties and toys.
Something like that.
Like my verbiage on that, huh?
Keep it classy.
So
hey,
Gen
it
2
happens.
came out and I was Gen 2 came out and I was really excited. I started buying everything because I have my allowance and I'm mowing lawns and I'm a little 13, 14-year-old. I'm getting paid. And 95 rolls around and I've been saving up. Hadn't quite gotten enough to get the Dreadwing and Smokescreen 2-pack in Gen 2. I was annoyed that Smokescreen was named Smokescreen because Smokescreen is supposed to be like Gen 1 Smokescreen, and still just being a
purist,
grouchy kid. Yeah, yes, purist. That's a nice way of putting it. So we went to Toys R Us. I got my mom to take me to Toys R Us, and because we were out doing some other errand, and I'm looking at the Gen 2 stuff. They had a little deal, and in the back of the Gen 2 Dreadwing shelf, there was a different figure. I was like, what the hell is this? And I looked at it and it said Megatron and Starscream on it, and it was a funny color. And I was like, oh, whoa, that's cool. Okay. Whatever. And put it back. Didn't think anything about it.
Well,
I didn't have it. Hang on. Didn't have enough money for the Dreadwing and Smokescreen. Definitely didn't have money for this exact same mold, which much cooler colors. Great. Okay. My mom wouldn't front me the extra $5 I needed. Okay, fine. Gone. left Toys R Us, didn't buy anything because I'm going to save up. I'm going to get this Dreadwing, blah, 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 moving on. Several years later, it's BotCon 90. I'd been online since 96 at this point. I got an ATT. I'd been, I'd had deals with Hydra back in the old days.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. So I'd been to a couple of transcons. BotCon 98 rolled around, and they had the live charity auction for, hey, that's that figure again. Holy crap. Oh, wait, that thing's rare? And it was ATB Megatron, And so, ARG. So I guess it's a 4-part story. So this is part 2. There's my second encounter with ATB Megatron, is at the charity auction, and it sold, and off it went. And I was like, okay, well, great. Now this thing I have to own this toy. I have to own this toy. Fast forward to right around 2000. I'm living in Tampa, and I decided to take a trip out to Orlando. It's 2 hours away, whatever. And I was riding with a friend, and we were going to go to Whiz Bang Toys because I'd been to an FX show in Orlando, and Whiz Bang had I went to their store, and they had a huge Gen 1 display, and all sorts of stuff. Great. And I went there, and I didn't call ahead to check their hours, and they were closed. So, okay, great. So I'm peering in the windows and looking around, and the proprietor of the store, I forget the gentleman's name, but he saw me and my friend looking in the windows, and he's like, he opened the door. He's like, do you want to come in and take a look around? And I was like, sure. And so he let us in, and he had a Victory Leo in the box. He had the Micromaster Countdown base in the box with the Rescue Patrol. And I was, looking in the glass cases, and I'm identifying everything to show that I know what I'm talking about. And, I'm trying not to be just some geek on the street who's looking in your windows. And he's like, oh, you like Transformers. You're keen on this sort of stuff. And I was like, oh, dude, this is what I do. And he's like, well, I've got something to show you. I just made a purchase from a Kenner employee, a Hasbro employee, and this is what I have over here. And he had a whole bunch of box art, like the actual art, like for real. Yeah. Including the ATB Megatron, like proto, like whatever, the mock-up of the packaging just on paper. And I was like, oh, this thing, oh my God, it's this thing again. It's haunting me. He pulled out, he had a couple of prototypes, just random, prototypes and test shots and things. But then he pulled out this mock-up. It was Gen 2 Megatron, the tank, but it was mocked up like a camcorder. And he said this was something that was going to come out, and they tried it, and it didn't work out. So, no. And I was like, dude, are you going to sell this stuff? And he's like, no. This is all my stuff. This doesn't go anywhere. And I was like, okay, well, that makes sense. If I had this stuff, I wouldn't. That's not going anywhere, And then a few years later, and so great dude, great afternoon, bought a couple of things, small things, nothing major, and definitely nothing from the super sweet stash that he had there, and went home. And a couple of years later, I saw a lot of that stuff on eBay, and was just like, and it went, gone.
Yeah.
There was like the weird Action Master prototype, mock-up art and stuff that didn't get released. The stuff that was found in the Arby's parking lot at BotCon 2002, some of that stuff was there.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was just
found in the Arby's parking lot.
Found in the Arby's parking lot. Yep.
That's a story by itself.
It is. Mind blown. For those who don't know, there was some what would have been the 1991 maybe Action Master line art, box art that just didn't happen.
Is that what Rick has talked about in the past with the Action Master Predaking and Superion and all that kind of stuff? Is that kind of about the same?
It's about the same stuff. Yeah, it was more Action Master Combiner Gestalt guys. But yeah, someone lost track of it at some point. I believe it was BotCon 2002. It ended up being found in the Arby's parking lot outside the show.
Random.
Yeah. So
you can't make this stuff up.
No. Yeah. So that stuff, it was a wonderful day. And fast forward to 2015, 2016, I was living in Qatar, and I was making money. It was wonderful. And
living in Qatar, huh?
Living in Qatar, and probably know the seller, Z75, and he had an ATB Megatron. It posted, and I was like, oh, and I was kind of overextended. You had talked about Minerva earlier, Don, and I had just bought my Minerva in the box, super duper white, just gorgeous, and I got a Go Shooter too. So I was overextended, and here's the ATB Megatron, and it sat there. And it sat there, and it sat there for about a month, and it sat there for 6 weeks, and I'm eyeballing it. And I'm like, okay, if I this paycheck and I juggle here and juggle there, I'll be able to do this. I can do this. And then my contract ended. Whoop. And I had already started talking to him, like trying to work out, hey, I got this, and we'll get the better deal, whatever. And I missed it. I got sent home. The contract was over. No more money. Okay, I sat at home for a few months, and then it sold. And I know the guy who ended up buying it. And I was at his house and saw what is, in my head, my ATV Megatron there. And I was like, oh,
You're
my
like,
God.
I hate you. Were you stabbing him with your eyes?
There was no eye stabbing. He's a friend. So I was like, like face up against the package, like, oh, this is supposed to be my toy. I miss you so much. So it is one of my quests. I have several quests, but it's one of my big ones.
Your white whale.
Yep, is that ATV Megatron in the box? Has to be boxed, obviously. Can't be a funky loose Beast Wars second or anything. Yeah. So. But yeah, so that's my story. I guess that was in 5 parts. So 95, 98.
I feel so bad for you because that's just it's almost like a Twilight Zone episode that it just keeps back and it's taunting you and taunting
me.
Like,
Oh, the cat
over
came
here, no,
back
I'm gone.
the very next day.
Yeah.
Thought he was a goner, but the cat came back the very next day. I can't remember where that was from. Was that a Dr. Seuss thing or something?
No, that was a weird, I believe it was a Canadian cartoon short that was nominated for an Academy Award back in, I want to say 88. I want to say 1988. But there was a short cartoon.
I couldn't remember where I'd heard that from, but it stuck with me all these years.
Yeah, they would play it in between movies and shows on like HBO and random premium channels, I believe.
Yeah. Well, Peter, have you checked with Brett, see if maybe he can check with his contacts on getting you one? Or
I have not. I've just in the last 2 to 3 years started actually communicating with people, and
okay.
Duran can attest to this. I didn't speak to anyone forever, and so I would go to shows and would hide and wouldn't participate. I was a lurker on the boards forever. I do deals and things, but I didn't really come out of my shell until a couple of 3 years ago, and so I don't know who to reach out to in a lot of cases.
It's like the faces, the names, you probably talk to them, but
yes,
it's one of those things. Like, a lot of people ask me, well, how do you people that find out about this show, they're like, well, how do you get in contact with these people and everything? And it's like, I'm a talker. Whenever I go to conventions, I'm not one of the people that typically will just go up to a random person and just start talking to them for no reason, especially a celebrity or something other. But if given an opportunity, I'll stand and talk to you. If you want to, if I'm not busy and you want to talk to me, you come up to me and start talking to me, I'll talk to you. If it's about Transformers, I'll talk all day.
I want to tell you about Transformers.
Yeah, I'll talk. I mean, especially at work. I mean, I try to seek out other closet nerds at work. And I kind of found one the other day. He's wearing a Masters of the Universe shirt. It's Classics Masters of the Universe shirt. And I'm like, I dig your shirt. And he goes, oh man, I'm a huge He-Man fan. Pulled up pictures on his phone, had a He-Man birthday cake this year, and he's like in his 40s too. And I'm like, I'm a Transformer guy. So we got to talking, it's kind of neat. You never know where you'll run into somebody,
That's a fact.
But for every person like that, there's always that person like, I've ran into this before. You go into a Walmart. This happened to me back in late 99, early 2000. I want to say Beast Machines were still on the shelf. And I was just getting back into it as an adult collector. I'd gotten a lot of the Fox Kids repaints, rediscovered my G1s. I was starting to buy some on eBay. BBTS was getting a lot of my business. And I was looking in stores to see what was on the shelf then. And I remember walking in and seeing this guy. Usually, I didn't see a whole lot of people looking at Transformers. It was always the Hot Wheels guys, the G.I. Joe guys, the Star Wars guys. Those are the only adults I would see on the toy aisles, besides parents. I never saw adults looking at Transformers. And one day I was in Lexington, Kentucky, and I went into, I want to say it was a Walmart, might have been a Target, and I walk around the corner, and this guy, he was kind of disheveled, typical, Transformer fan that you see, that has this, the stereotype, kind of overweight, goatee, lives in his grandma's basement. He looked like that type of person. And he was sitting there looking at the Transformers. He had one of the boxed ones picked up, looking at it and everything, kind of tilting it back and forth, inspecting it, and he'd put it back. And me being me, I tried to strike up a conversation with him. I said, "So you into Transformers too?" And he kind of did that kind of look to me. I'm like, it's all right, dude. I'm a collector myself. I'm not here to judge you like that. It's what he did. He just kind of gave me that, like that, and then he walks away.
Oh.
And I'm like, did I creep him out? I kind of found him a little more creepy than he found me, I'm sure. But just trying to be nice. But for every person you find like that, there's somebody that's willing to talk. I think it's more so now because that was like in the early 2000s. And I think the mindset was still in the process of changing then, whenever the geek culture that we're a part of now, that's more widely accepted thanks to the Marvel movies and things like that. Geek culture is so much more accepted.
It's cooler to be a geek now.
Yeah. It's not unusual to go into a toy aisle and see adults looking at different toys, whether it be Transformers or Power Rangers or Jurassic Park stuff, there are fans out there, and it's not unusual to see them now. 15, 16, 20 years ago, that was not normal.
Yeah.
It was
at all.
it was usually
just the Star
just
Wars guys.
us, and if we passed each other in the aisle, it was a rare occasion.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, a lot of people I've mentioned in the past on both shows how I'm out of Star Wars. I am done with Star Wars because of the oversaturation. But a big part of that is living through Power of the Force. If you were a collector when Power of the Force came out, you were drowning in product, variants, freeze frames, orange card, green card, and
Short saber, long
Short
saber,
saber.
long tray, short saber. Yeah.
and half circle Boba Fett, full circle Boba Fett.
Yep.
And
Screw that.
yeah, and at that time though, that's what you saw was these hardcore, like Duran said, you didn't see Transformer collectors at that time. You saw the Star Wars people trying to find, again, a lot of it was people trying to flip it, which I've done it. I'm not gonna lie. I try to be as little of a jerk about it as possible, but yeah, I've bought stuff to flip.
It was so predictable.
But
Like
it was
like the Hot Wheels guys, you knew when they were there. They were usually there early in the morning when the cases were being opened and stocked on the shelves because they wanted to get those treasure lines and treasure series and stuff. Yeah. You knew when they were going to be there.
And that's really, and literally, that's all you ever saw in that time frame. It wasn't the Transformer collectors. Toy Biz might have had some people, but it was not like what it is now. It was those Star Wars people. And living through Power of the Force made me so sick of Star Wars that after I watched the prequels and everything came back with a vengeance, with all these lines and the Black series and da 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 and all that, I just said I'm done, and I walked away from Star Wars pretty much. Other than Star Wars Transformers, I walked away from everything. But Duran's right. You just did not see that many overall collectors. It was all the niche. It was the Star Wars people. Everybody trying to find all these self-made variants and stuff. But yeah, you're right, Duran. You just nowadays it's like you meet people, you talk to them in the aisles.
Even if they're not a fellow Transformer collector, they're a like mind because they collect something else geeky like we do.
And a lot of them have an overarching knowledge where like they know, I'm like, hypothetically, I'm a Star Wars guy, but I know that the Transformers guys are looking for their Power of the Primes or the reissues, so we can have that conversation.
Yeah, and you don't have to be a walking Marvel Handbook of the Universe to know enough. Because see, whether you like the Transformer movies, whether you like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that has helped make collecting and geek culture much more friendly appearing to the. I don't want to use the word normal because that's not right, but I can't think of anything.
To us, it's normal.
Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
To the masses.
Yeah, I
non-collectors.
the non-collectors, the non-fans that have just the passing knowledge, but they understand how people can really be into this stuff, which makes it a lot more acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
But back then, you were a pariah if you were an adult male. I had one person ask me, and I think it was a Toys R Us years ago. They said, "Do you collect this stuff?" And they said, "Yeah." And I think they asked me, "Are you okay? You're a grown male. You're collecting this stuff." It was something along those lines. It took me so completely by surprise by somebody was asking me, "Am I okay? Am I buying this for somebody? Why am I buying it for myself?" It was the whole conversation. It's just this weird. You don't expect to get a third degree buying a toy at wherever I was. It was just odd.
And it should never come to that. I mean, the judgment that used to be more pervasive was always just like off-putting, unwelcome, not fun.
I totally attribute the success or the rise of geek culture in large part to the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah. And cons are a bigger thing now too. I mean, those it's so much more mainstream. I mean, if you look at the size of the Comic-Cons, 5-10 years ago versus now, it's just it's not even the same.
And you also got video games and anime, which are a gateway drug into geekdom too. So
right. Yeah. It's I have a friend of mine. Her daughter is a dancer. And she goes to these cons with her dance troupe, and they do musical numbers set to popular themes across the board. And 10 years ago, they might have they might have a room full of people. Now they've got standing room only because it's just such a, I brought this up a while ago. The TF Con with the Supernatural convention. That was
all those girls.
That was a really odd mix, and I never watched more than episode or two of Supernatural. Heck, I just watched the Scooby-Doo episode a couple of weeks ago for the first time to see what it was like. But that was when you could tell that you had mothers and daughters that were huge fans of this show, and they were talking, and they were us just for Supernatural, and it was just a common thing, and they were like. There was no pressure. There was it was like they were having their convention and they were loving it because of all the great stuff going on. Personally, as an outside person, it didn't make any sense to me, but I'm sure our Transformers convention made as little sense to them.
Mm-hmm.
Bingo.
But you could be out and you could be enjoying it, and it wasn't this kind of, maybe nobody will recognize me kind of thing going on.
Yeah. I don't. I can't say that I've ever had the inclination to try to hide what I was as an adult collector out in public. I never was ashamed of it. I'm probably, I don't know, I don't want to say I'm one of the few, but I'm one of those people that I just never found shame in it. I know people who, whenever they were going through the checkout line and the cashier say, "Oh, you buying this for your kid?" And they're like, yeah. And they totally lie. Say, yeah, I'm buying it for my kid. I've never been that kind. I'm like, no, I'm buying it for me. And you always get, you used to get that weird look like, it's for you. You're like a grown man. Like, I didn't give a damn. I'm not buying it to please them.
Yeah.
So. I'm not trying to get off on a tangent here, but my dad never really understood my collecting. He didn't like me spending money on comics. I had to sneak most of my stuff in because he just thought there was better uses of my money than buying comics or buying toys. Being I was 14 when Transformers hit, and I was buying 50-cent comics at the flea market, and Dad was just like, why are you spending your money on a 50-cent comic? Well, one, it was $1. It was like $1.25, and I got a 50-cent comic. Duh. But he never understood. But it was like, I'm not doing drugs. I'm not out drinking. I'm not out partying. I'm not doing stuff that's going to get me in trouble. I'm buying plastic figures and putting them on a shelf, and I'm enjoying a cartoon.
Yep.
Yeah, that may not be your normal, but it could be a lot worse.
Yeah, absolutely. I would just, I'm. It's one of the things. It's like I'm trying to geekify my girlfriend's daughter. If she becomes a geek, she would at least hang out with people that would do stuff that's clean. And at least somewhat wholesome. I don't care if she's like goth or emo, I mean, just as long as she's not doing drugs and going out and stealing things and being a hoodlum.
Even if she does go for the more darker goth look, with the amount of crap Hot Topic carries as collectibles now, it's both. Yeah. I mean, you can get all your golf stuff.
I'm not saying I'm not saying that that's what she's leaning toward by any means, but if she were, yeah.
There's places that were not normally carrying this stuff. Like Target has always had toys, but now they have that section in their electronics that's the pop vinyls and this and that and whatever the case may be. Mm-hmm. And then you've got your GameStops that are now half basically collectibles in many locations. You still got FYE if you can afford anything there. And so you've got all these places. Heck, look at Ollie's. Look at Aldi, if you've heard of Aldi, that was carrying.
We have those here.
They had Ram Horn last year. They had a small selection of the Titans Return figures that most people finally got their Ram Horns from Aldi's of all places. They had Prime Deluxes a couple years ago. I picked up the Dead End, the Wheeljack repaint for like $4.99.
Yep, we had cases of just the Viacon, whatever, just tons of them at our Aldi. Yeah.
So I mean, places, especially with Toys R Us closing, which is probably a good thing for the show. Well, maybe, but it's just the geek culture. It's not a thing you keep, in the dark closet anymore. And you're like, I'll get my toy. I'll get back to my hiding place. No.
Yeah.
We're not Smeagol. Going out into the toy room.
We're more inclined to go get a box and then walk through the store holding it up high. I found this.
Distribution actually paid off for once.
For once, yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's some great stories that we've shared there. I've been having a lot of fun doing that. Maybe we'll revisit this very, very soon. Maybe even next week. But some great stuff there. But
next time, Doron, my Grand Max story.
Absolutely. But before I close on this episode, I want to go to New York Comic Con and talk a little bit about some of the things that they showed there. We finally got to see the Siege Decepticons, the Siege War for Cybertron Decepticons. Some really awesome stuff. Some not so awesome stuff, in my opinion. But there's some good stuff there. You guys have any initial knee-jerk opinions on it?
Brunt. That's it. I'm super excited to see him. Yeah.
Now, go ahead, Lucas. You go first.
So I was just going to say, the last several years we've had some really good toys have come out on the shelf. The Marvel Legends have been killing it, Star Wars Black Series, those Voltron toys, even Ninja Turtles, things like that. And I've been so jealous because in Transformers, the Titan Returns line was pretty good. But for the most part, I just felt like we weren't getting that level of quality in Transformers. And I feel like now, they're not out yet, but I kind of feel like that they started stepping up their game, and that these Siege figures are comparable to Marvel Legends. So that's my hope. And so, I mean, I personally, I'm all in. I think that, I love all of the crazy figures like, COG and the mainline figures. Like I'm loving it.
Well, and there a lot of those figures like the Brunt and the Cog, they're actually, I don't know if it's advertised that they're there to accentuate previous Titan figures that they have, but they're also there to stand alone. Brunt, I'm going to be sticking him all over Triptychon in city mode. And then Cog is going to go with Fort Max, duh. And then if we ever get a 6-gun, please let there be a 6-gun. So
You're about to be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's going to be a 6-gun, right?
Yeah, I've heard rumblings that there will be, but
I think some listings showed up in the past couple of days saying that it might have been Walmart listings. I don't know. Somewhere said that 6-gun was listed. I don't know.
But yeah, I mean, there's some great stuff that's been that's came out. We knew that Micromasters was going to be announced. We've seen Blowpipe and what was the other one? Blowpipe and Misfire or no, Aimless, yeah, for Misfire.
And then the axe was I forgot what his name was.
And then finally, we're finally getting a Tetrajet Starscream, and we're eventually going to get Thundercracker and Skywarp, I would imagine. But how many people got a strong Battlestar Galactica feel out of those guys?
That's a Viper.
That's
absolutely.
That is a classic series.
It's like whoever helped design this line or come up with the names had to be a BSG fan, because Starscream is heavily influenced by the looks of a BSG Viper, a Colonial Viper, and then Reflector is called Refractor, F-R-A-K, Refractor.
I'm glad I was the only one that caught that, because I didn't want to say anything. It's like, no, Don, you're just drawing parallels that aren't there.
No, they're there. They're there. Slapping you in the face.
Is Triptychon will be a base star now? I mean, is Omega going to be the Galactica or the Pegasus? Even better, because you get crazy Commander Kane. Sorry.
I go this way.
Yeah. Yeah, classic. Yeah.
Now, if Brunt, I haven't seen any close-up pictures of Brunt, but if Brunt has a head like this,
he actually,
like a Cylon,
he actually has a very
Cylon-esque
looking head. Yeah. As for me, for Siege, I am very much meh on most of the line.
Really?
Yeah, I'm just the Sideswipe. It's the battle damage doesn't even blip my radar. I wish it wasn't even there.
I'm hoping that we'll see a platinum-ish reissue at some point where all the battle damage is gone.
Yeah.
They're going to reuse the molds.
Right.
Hasn't Red Alert been seen?
Yes, he has. He's been seen with the Brunt stuff all attached to him all over. Why he would have Brunt stuff attached to him, I don't know. But yeah, the picture's out.
I'm going to get the Starscream or one of the 3 jets. I will be honest, though. I think Impossible Toys did a better job making a Tetrajet look in jet mode than what the Starscream. The geek in me loves the Battlestar Galactica influence, but from an actual Tetrajet, like from More Than Meets the Eye Part 1, Impossible Toys did a lot better job, at least on the jet mode, it looking like with those curves and angles and stuff.
That's true.
The only figure... Go ahead, Lucas.
Oh, I was just going to say that the vast majority of his figures, I feel like they focused on the robot mode over the alt mode. So there's a few like Soundwave and stuff where I'm like, like the alt mode just looks kind of weird, but I'm willing to give it a pass if the bot mode looks cool.
Yeah.
But I like Magnus and I want to get Magnus. The Shockwave surprised me on how much I want it, because not only do you get a G1 Shockwave if you want that, you can get Green Goblin Shockwave, where he's riding his glider, and then he can brave up and wear all of his armor parts for his Chogen Gatai.
Great Shockwave Super Mode.
Great Shockwave Super. I like the Micromasters. I'm not sure about how they're going to be on the price point. I like the guns and all that, but I'll be honest. We've said this before, John, on several shows. I am about 84, 85, 86 out, and I'm really feeling it with this Siege line. They could have when they say War for Cybertron, when they say, when they use that tagline, and we
feels
don't
recycled too soon.
Yeah, we don't get Wheeljack in his hover van mode. We don't get Bumblebee in the flat saucer car mode. We don't get Jazz's, at least as of yet, we don't get Jazz's Cybertronian mode. They took the Nova Star mold, took out the combining abilities to make Chromia when there's already a combiner that is short figures because Power of the Primes was shortened, and Alita 1 does not have a full matching female team to make her Gestalt mode. And they take out the combiner ability of the figure that has the combiner ability built in. For extra Greeble, I don't know.
They are really greebly in this line.
Yeah, it's almost like if anybody out there collects tokusatsu stuff like Kamen Rider, and you look at a Figuarts versus an SIC, that's what I'm seeing here. Figuarts is a cleaner look, a more show accurate look in most cases, very show accurate on a lot of things. Whereas SIC it's reimagined, a lot of high tech details, a lot of extra bits and pieces here and there for people that want a really super detailed figure. And that's what I'm seeing here is we're getting all these super detailed figures with the battle damage, but it draws away from the figure itself to me to a degree. I have no desire for Soundwave. He's got a lamppost mode.
I think that's neat.
Rumor has it that there's a secret tape deck mode in it too.
I
and
would
if
not
that
be
is
surprised
true,
if there are fan modes all around. Yeah.
If that is true, that if he has a really decent tape deck mode, I will buy that toy.
Yeah, I'm not getting down on the figures themselves because I know a lot of my people in my circles are loving what they're seeing. I'm just getting burned out when we were getting Misfire, Trigger Happy, Twin Twist, Top Spin. Even though they were 84, 85, 86, we were getting stuff that we had not gotten in a very long time, if ever. And now we've gone back to, the only thing that surprises me is we don't have a Bumblebee, but we talked about this on RFC, how with that hitting around the same time Bumblebee the movie's hitting, you wouldn't have another Bumblebee in Siege line at the same time your Bumblebee line is out. So I can get that.
Oh, that makes sense.
Once we get Wave 2 or Wave 3, yeah, you'll see a Bumblebee in there somewhere.
And see, I was going to that point. It's still really early in the line, let alone early in the trilogy. So we are only seeing, the Hook figures. It's funny that you're holding up Hook. But we're seeing all the Hook figures now get us in the door with Megatron, Shockwave, Soundwave, Reflector, all those guys. And then as we move forward, we know we're going to get a point blank out of that punch counter punch mold. Mm-hmm. We know we're probably going to get a drift out of the same. It's coming. We just have to be patient.
Right. No, heck, it could be Drift and Deadlock. They might even do.
I would be so down for that.
Yeah. But I'll be honest, I am not putting down Siege. I know a lot of people like it. It's just, I feel like they could have really gone in a unique direction on a War for Cybertron, and we get Optimus Prime in truck mode that's basically his Earth mode with more Greeble. It just seems like we really need to be looking at something different because third party is drowning in 84, 85, 86 to a degree, although they are still filling in places like we're getting Savant from X-Transbox, which is Skids. I don't see Takara doing a Skids anytime soon on the list of figures left to do. But I will be cherry picking this line, but I'll be honest, between Siege and Cyberverse really, really sucking.
Cyberverse isn't even on my radar.
That's
Well,
awful. None of that's getting open
again,
for me.
I know it's not for me. I'm just saying, if the kids buy it and the kids are having fun with it, that is the main thing. That is the main thing. But
My kid is 10 and he has zero interest.
Yeah.
Zero.
But-
He's seen them. He's like, nope.
yeah, but even in Robots in Disguise 2.0, there were really great figures in that warrior size class. And you're telling me at a slightly higher price point, give or take, that this Cyberverse line, these warrior class Cyberverse figures, are basically the replacement at the same or slightly higher price, and they look like this? That does nothing. That's like saving the money, and on the Siege stuff as well, because I'm going to cherry pick. I like the Megatron, but it's like hands behind the back, fold the legs up, throw a turret on. Your tank mode is just kind of there. It's like you said, the robot modes look great. I think that Megatron and robot mode with that sword, oh my god, that is a brilliant, visually striking figure.
It's like that Soundwave is like G1 Soundwave all the way through.
Yeah, but it's just I don't know exactly what I want, but Siege I know isn't it.
How about you, Lucas? What's your
I feel
thoughts?
like, I was just gonna say, I feel like that there's some executive at Hasbro that is like, we need to push 84, 85, with everything, because you notice that with the Bumblebee movie, they've went back to a lot more. The designs are more reminiscent of that. You have the Cyberverse line that it's all G1. You have all this Evergreen stuff, and then now you have this line. So I kind of feel like that. Yeah, there's somebody that said, hey, you know what? Like, this is what's going to sell. We need to do that. And I do think a little bit, to your point, Don, that if that Cyberverse was something new, you probably wouldn't be feeling as bad if we would have gotten this.
Yeah.
If you would have had another line that actually was,
Cyberverse was
reinventing it.
exactly. If Cyberverse was as good as Robots in Disguise 2.0 was in their later class warrior figures, Bludgeon, Bisque, the rest of those, I would be more than willing to dip into the Cyberverse stuff. But we saw the Ultra or Ultimate Slipstream. No.
Yeah,
It's just,
I bought several of those for my kids already, and I mean, it's all junk. Like, honestly, it's worse than the Robots in Disguise stuff. So,
well, did y'all see Balt Matrix's review of that Bumblebee?
No,
He took the Bumblebee out of the package, and it broke both. I think both legs popped off coming out of the package.
Wow.
Yeah, my copy isn't that bad, but it's still not very good.
Yeah, it's I think Lucas hit something there, a point that I wanted to make about not just the Siege line, but the lines that we've gotten ever since, like Combiner Wars, and even toward the end of the Generations. But more so whenever Combiner Wars started, because I think that's whenever the new guard after Rick's group left, they came in, and I think it's the first line that they really did on their own. And I see a lot of people knocking the aesthetic. They're knocking the character choices. They're knocking Transformers in general. And using third party as third party, and I'm not, I know Don just did this, and I'm not in any way knocking you. That's your opinion, and I respect it, and I respect everybody else's opinion that feels similarly. But I just want to offer this as a counterpoint. For many, many years as adult collectors, even way back whenever I became an adult collector in '99, rediscovering my original collection and going full bore back into it, I had always wanted new, updated versions of my G1 characters that I beloved so much, and even though Aaron Archer and his regime, they tried in a lot of ways to homage some Generation 1 characters, We got what was it? Excellion painted like Hot Rod. Stuff like that.
Well, throughout the Unicron trilogy, there was all sorts of nods and homages across the board. Yeah.
And we got all kinds of homages and everything, but no true updated G1 characters. And then later in the generations and the classics, we got the classics line. We got more true G1 inspired designs, bringing them back. And I think over the last 10 years or so, 10 to 12 years since Classics came out, Classics came out when 07? Was it 06, somewhere in there?
06 or 07, yeah.
Yeah, so it's been roughly a decade that we've been in this thing. And a lot of people are getting jaded to the fact that we're getting the G1 characters hammered over our heads. So much so that the Beast fans are like, all right, G1 fans are getting all this fan wank. We're just getting breadcrumbs here and there. Why can't
Dinobot is not a breadcrumb.
I know, but I mean, if you look at the sheer number of Generation 1 updates and homages, Beast Wars is getting breadcrumbs. I'm not saying that there's that they're totally getting ignored, but compared to the G1 inspired designs, other later younger fans are not getting the homages or are not getting the updates that they deserve, like we wanted for so long. We're jaded to the fact that we've gotten all these for the last decade. We've gotten how many G1 Optimus Prime updates? We've gotten how many Megatron updates? And now Soundwave, FVGBE. We've gotten more Soundwave toys now in the last 35 years combined. I don't totally disagree with that. We've got a lot of Soundwaves out there now. And for the longest time, Soundwave was constantly being ignored. It's like, well, he turns into a square box. Now they're like, okay, he looks like G1 Soundwave, but turns into, I don't know what the hell Siege Soundwave is supposed to be.
You know what it reminds me of, Duron?
Lying down.
Yeah, it reminds me of both Sky Gary with his arms kind of in that pose. He a very
like
Sky
a drop
Gary.
ship. I've heard people say that he's a drop ship.
Sky Gary, or one of the starships from Stargate SG-1. It looks like one of the ships that they had in Stargate SG-1 as well. So I mean, I can see some, but I do see some Sky Gary in that as well. It's just flying Soundwave. He needs a cape, and then he can then he can be in zone with everybody else because he has a cape.
But I think the thing is we're jaded to the fact that we've gotten so many iterations of the characters that we love. We're like Dawn, getting tired of a lot of it. But we don't want to be tired, but we are, and we're not liking. We find that we're nitpicking ourselves a lot. We're nitpicking the line. But I submit this before we close. The guys, John Warden and his crew, what I see is a lot of passion.
Yes,
in this line. They're trying to give us as much as they can. Yes, the figures are smaller, they're more hollow, they're cheaper feeling. The QC is not what it has been in recent years as it has been. We're getting a lot of loose stuff, a lot of stuff breaking so easily. But I think a lot of it is cost cutting. A lot of it has come down from corporate. A lot of the stuff that we're complaining about, I think the designers really don't have a control over. I think Hasbro corporate is saying, okay, this is what you have, and Rick could probably corroborate this. They're like, this is what you have, this is the budget you have, do what you can, and within these constraints, and they're giving us as much as they can with what they have. We got to understand, and we've said it before here on this show, Hasbro is not third party. Third party can throw all the R&D and development into one figure, and it can make them or break them, but they don't have to worry about parts count. They don't have to worry about amount of paint on a toy. Hasbro does. They're a corporate. They have investors that they have to please, and a lot of people forget that. That being said, a lot of people don't give a damn about that, and it's like, well, I don't care what Hasbro does. It's still crap, and they're expecting me to buy it. And I'm not saying, well, because it's Hasbro, we need to go out and buy it. I'm not by any means saying that. But at the same time, I do appreciate what they're doing. They're giving us so much stuff, and they're digging deep in the wells. Punch Counter Punch, the Duocons, for crying out loud, faithful Duocons. I never in a million years would have thought we would have got faithful updates of Flywheels and Battle Trap. Never in a million years.
Wait. Yep.
Never in a million years would have thought that.
Yep.
Yet we have them now.
Yep.
Micromaster updates. Never in a million years would have thought we'd seen those. Thought the closest we would have got would maybe a repainted Minicon.
Right.
So a lot of people are bashing Hasbro for this stuff. A lot of people are bashing. Oh, this I hate this battle damage and crap. I admit from the initial stock photos that we're seeing, some of the hand painted stuff that we're seeing on the tables at New York Comic Con and San Diego Comic Con, a lot of that stuff, it looks a little bit overboard. I'm not entirely sure I'm going to dig that aesthetic. However, I'm not going to sit here and say, Hasbro, you're stupid. Why are you doing this stuff? I can tell you right now why they're doing it. They're trying to give us something fresh and new while still giving us something that we love, that they know we'll love, or that we'll care about. They want to remain relevant, not just to the young kids, but they want to remain relevant to the fans because we're what keeps the brand going. And yes, they are tiring out some of the characters, but I do see them still. I mean, for every Soundwave, Megatron, and Prime, and Bumblebee that we've got, they're digging into that well and digging out a Flywheels and Battle Trap, and a Punch Counter Punch, and a Repugnus, and Grotesque, and Double Cross, with Battle Beast homage heads, for crying out loud.
Skullgrin, Submarauder. I mean,
How
just getting
many
pretenders. It's wonderful.
How many people are forgetting that aspect? Whenever we're sitting here bashing Hasbro for doing this and doing this and not doing this and not doing that, I think it's a jaded aspect or jaded outlook that a lot of people tend to forget that they are doing the best that they can. I mean, could they do better? Everybody could always do better. But I think they're doing a bang-up job with... And what made me think of this was the other day, I read somebody's comment, don't remember who it was, don't remember what group it was in, but I read somebody's comment. They said John Warden and his bunch need to get out of there. They're ruining the line. In what way? I think they are doing a bang-up job with it. They're giving us what we wanted for so many years. Now that we got what we want, people don't want it. What the hell, people? What are we turning into? The Star Wars people?
Well, and the
could
thing
be worse. G.I. Joe?
I'm one of those G.I. Joe guys.
Yeah.
Could be worse.
And I'll be honest, Ron, I don't want to come across as somebody that is mad at Hasbro because they're making toys for the fans because as a majority of the percentage that we are of Hasbro's business, this is what they're wanting. And if you like Siege, go for it. I hope it does well because we'll get a lot of interesting stuff. It's just I was really enjoying the more unique stuff we were getting. Like I said, Twin Twist, Top Spin, all that. And it just seems like if you're on Cybertron, that could, to me, War for Cybertron, Siege, that brings up this could have been the next animated, something different, something radical, but still grounded in what we knew for this next trilogy of things.
And the way I see it, though, it is radical.
I just see
it is radical.
To me,
the battle damage, the thing is though, is yes, we are getting a Prime. We're getting another Soundwave. We're getting another Tank Megatron. We're getting a Sideswipe that doesn't fit, but yet we're getting Brunt. The accessory pieces for flipping Tripticon. We're getting Cog, essentially an accessory character for Fort Max. We didn't need to get those characters, but we're getting them.
And to Don's point earlier about Soundwave looking in vehicle mode like Sky Gary, what's to say that, a year from now we aren't going to get a Sky Gary out of that mold? And I am all for that.
Oh, definitely. It's just, I just don't want to come across as I'm being one of those people. It's like, I don't like what you're doing, Hasbro. No, it's more from a weariness.
And I totally get it, Don. I totally get it.
It's like if you look at the European continuity, they could have given us Track-Cons, they could have given us Light Formers, they could have given us Turbo Masters. Those molds are unique enough that could have been Cybertronian forms. They could have given us the G2 small jets in larger sizes. Some of those
would be fun. Yeah.
With some tweaks could have been a Cybertronian thing. I'll tell you one thing I'm hoping for in this siege. I want to get a new Superion based on the Aerial Bot Cybertronian shuttle modes before they were reformatted by Vector Sigma. That's something I would like to see. It's a Superion, it's G1, but it's their Cybertronian shuttle modes. I want to see Megatron's box bots and the flatbed trucks from War Dome that you could buy like a 2-pack of Micromasters that's like maybe like their weapons, or maybe they're weapons, but they have like a hidden box mode, and you can put them on the flatbed trailer like War Dome, and then the truck and the trailer forms like the generic soldier, the Viacon on Cybertron. That's what I want to see, is Cybertronian stuff from the cartoon that would work with this motif, but it'd be something so completely bat poop crazy, it would fit. It's just so crazy.
At this point, though, never say never, Don. Go ahead.
I know.
Go ahead.
I just want to make a couple different points. So, one, like, you don't have to buy everything in the line. So I know, like, for some of us who've been collecting for 30 years or whatever, it's like, okay, well, they just released the Soundwave, or they just released whatever. And then also there's a lot of people that are just now getting into the line, that they may have been in Robots in Disguise, or they may have been in something else, and you have that 10-year-old kid, or the whoever it might be, that they missed when Combiner Wars was out 5 years ago or whatever. And so, or however many, I can't remember, what was Combiner Wars, maybe a few years ago, whenever it was. And so that's the thing is that there's always going to be younger kids getting into the line, and they're going to want Soundwave. They're going to want Optimus Prime. They're going to want Megatron. Yep. And that also helps fund for us our Brunts, because they're not going to make an entire line of Brunts and Cogs and all that.
As much as we want it to happen.
Yeah.
And with Energon, with Armada, Energon, and Cybertron anniversaries, and that is their G1, and we can see homages from Unicron trilogy. People have already been kit bashing Braun into Demolisher, which I think works. I don't care much for Demolisher, but it works on that mold.
You never know. You never know. But I mean, I'm right there with you, Don. I'm not sitting here saying you're wrong, or I'm not trying to make you feel bad about how you feel. I'm right there with you on a lot of your points, and I too am going to cherry pick this line. I fully intend to. One, I don't have the space for all the stuff, but damn it, there's some stuff in there I cannot miss. Like I said, Brunt, Flywheels, those Micromasters. you know, some of that stuff. I'm not saying that, you know, Sideswipe I won't pick up, or Hound I won't pick up. I want to see them in person. If that Soundwave does have a decent tape deck mode, I might be all over that. Even though the Ravage looks like he's been eating too many donuts, the Laserbeak looks pretty good. You know, it's got some hits and misses in the line, but I feel
That's every line.
Yeah, every line's got
Right.
that, and I feel that Hasbro right now. And I know this is an unpopular opinion based on what I've been seeing in the fandom throughout the random groups that I'm a member of. But I feel that Hasbro right now, as far as character diversity and selection and the way they're handling the franchise, has handled it better now. And as much as I love Aaron Archer and I consider him a friend and what he did for the franchise, I honestly think John Warden and the group now are handling it better than than the brand has been handled in the last 15 years. Simply for the fact, as a Generation 1 fan, I'm being catered to in ways that I never dreamed that I would have been catered to. I'm not saying
We're
that.
spoiled.
Yeah. I'm not saying that you know, I wish Energon and Cybertron and the Universe line and alternators had never happened. I'm thankful to this day all of that stuff happened, and that there was some great stuff. And I'm not saying that Aaron and his crew did a terrible job. They were doing what they were doing. They kept the line fresh. They gave us new characters. They gave us new toys and everything. As an adult collector, I was wanting something different, and now I'm getting it. You know, we can't all, you know, there's going to be people out there that's not going to be happy with what we have now. But yet, I guarantee you, if they started giving us Masterpiece Armada figures and, you know, highly detailed, articulated, updated versions of Armada and Energon figures that are smaller and, you know, just better toys all around, then your G1 fans that are similar to us, that are eating this line up, they would be complaining. They would be saying, oh, what's all this Unicron trilogy crap? I want more G1 Soundwave. Where's my G1 Prime? Where's my combiners at? It'll be full circle again. It would all come back around. Beggars can't be choosers. And thank you for watching Jerry Springer. This has been my final thought for that. You guys have any closing comments before we wrap? I know we've went 2 hours, which is a really long episode, but I think it's
really long.
I think it's been a really good episode, though.
Yeah, good points. If anyone has an ATV Megatron for sale in the box, I have
He
a
has
pile of
money
for
he
you.
wants to give you.
I don't like my money. I want to give it to you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Basically, he is the living embodiment of the Fry Futurama meme right now.
Shut up and
Shut
take
up
my
and
money.
take my money.
What about you, Lucas?
I don't think I have any other points from what I've made before.
Don?
I think I've rambled on long. I'm basically I'm old man yells at cloud right now. So you know that's.
All right, guys. I want to thank everybody that's joined us in the live chat. Some great comments there, and some people that I hadn't actually seen there before. I want to say a special hello, if he's still watching it, to Chad Williams' son, Miles, who was watching earlier and everything. You know, I'm so happy that you're still in the fandom, man. I wish I could talk to you more than I actually do. But usually whenever you message me, it's at an inopportune time. But man, I am so happy that you're carrying on your father's legacy and being a fan. And I hope that you enjoy this line for many, many years to come. So you guys, we'll see you next week on TFYLP. I do have something coming up very soon. And then in 2 weeks is the Kentucky meetup for October, and then the week after that is TF Expo. I'm sorry, TFCon. I got TF
TFCon.
Expo. Yeah, TFCon on my.
Oh, technically it is a TF Expo.
Yeah.
Just
I was looking at Lucas and I was thinking TF Expo, and then I thought, yeah,
I'm sure
TF
Daniel
Con.
will love that. I'm sure Daniel will love that.
But TF Con is coming up, so there may be some weeks here in the coming weeks that we may miss a week, and I'm going to try to avoid that. But if we do, that's why. It's wrapping up a con season, and I'm actually getting to go to a con. Yay! Now, hopefully, I won't be hospitalized a week before it happens. Now, yeah. Hope to see you next. What's that, Don?
No, I went to a con 2 weeks ago and met the stars of Land of the Lost.
I was watching a thing on YouTube last night about Land of the Lost.
Yeah,
Marshall, Will, and Holly.
I met Holly, Shaka, and Will. They were at this convention.
Wow.
Very happy.
Yeah, I saw a little trivia note that the guy that played Marshall the father, he left the show in the third season over royalty rights to the toys and everything. He wasn't getting. I didn't know that.
Now, it's been said. I don't know for sure, but it's been said that he was trying to get everybody on the show as part of that, and they wouldn't do anything with that at all.
And it was
it wasn't done like that.
And the Croft brothers, the Land of the Lost show was their longest running show. Most of their other shows lasted like a season and was out. This one lasted 3 years. And
sorry, I didn't mean to jump on tangents.
No, that's another little geek thing. All right, guys, we'll see you next time on TFYLP. Good night, everybody.
Everybody take care.
Good night.
Good night.